Hackers have apparently knocked the fundraising site GiveSendGo offline, targeting a campaign that's raised nearly $9 million to support the Canadian truckers protesting COVID mandates. 30 of those truckers now face fines up to $100,000 after being arrested at the Ambassador Bridge, which links the U.S. to Canada. Sunday night's hack briefly replaced GiveSendGo's page with a clip from the movie Frozen and a manifesto accusing it of supporting, quote, an insurrection in Ottawa. The hackers also claim to have leaked the names of donors to a third-party website, which is now offering to share it with the media. Joe Concha, your thoughts?
Insurrection, boy, that word's really been watered down lately, huh? Sedition. It gets applied to everything these days, including, protests. But the big question, I think, is where is Prime Minister Justin Trudeau at this point? Because problems and disputes don't get resolved by hiding or by calling these truckers white supremacists or Nazis. And the fact that the American people is so squarely on the side of the Canadian government here and not the working class people who are simply voicing their concerns about freedom, that speaks volumes. And by the way, no one wants to talk about the science and the data around COVID, by the way, in Canada, because cases are down there 90% compared to exactly 1 month ago. Just 4,400 cases yesterday in a country of 37 million people. So why, again, is a vaccine mandate needed here, given transmission is dropping precipitously for a profession where the worker is almost always isolated from the public? So if Trudeau just applied logic here, he would simply state, like Democratic governors have in this country, hey, look, the virus is rapidly declining, and now maybe the mandate isn't needed. It would give him a win. He would give him the ability to save face, and truckers as well would get what they're looking for here. But he won't do that because he is impossibly and stunningly stubborn.
That's right. And Liz Peek wrote an article sort of asking that. She said, what if Justin Trudeau had met with the truckers on their first day and actually heard them and listened to them? Would the situation have been diffused a long time ago by them simply feeling that they at least had the respect of someone listening to them and taking under advisement what they were arguing? Now, Kennedy, Vivek Ramaswamy had an interesting soundbite. Let's listen to it. What are your thoughts on the other side?
You think this is about vaccine mandates or about white supremacy? You're missing the point. And this isn't a left or right issue. This is about an uprising of everyday citizens in democracies around the world. It's not just Canada. It's not the United States. It's Western Europe, too, rising against the biggest threat to actual democracy, which I think is the rise of this managerial class in democracies around the world that are crushing the will of everyday people through bureaucracies. And that's why we're seeing a fusion of both the left and the right here saying that actually we want our voices heard.
He's not wrong. And we saw that, frankly, throughout the pandemic with the government using the health departments in addition to the DOJ and criminal prosecutions as a way of wielding their power against average, ordinary Americans trying to do their job.
Yes, and OSHA being given the job of making sure that every company with over 100 employees was making their employees be vaccinated. Glenn Reynolds wrote a great piece in the New York Post. He's a professor. He has written extensively about education and economics, and he says that this is actually an uprising of the working class. Now, communists and socialists and democratic socialists say that that's what they've always wanted, but the proletariat is rising up to overthrow the state. It's too much authoritarianism. It's too many mandates. It's too much taxation. It's too much control, and they just assume, to Vivek's point about the managerial class, that they will tell workers what to do and they will fall in line. These are people who work hard, they think for themselves, and they're not having it anymore because, a lot of this, we were told they were conspiracy theories, and now they have revealed themselves to be facts. People have been lied to, and they're sick of it.
It's interesting and kind of stands out to me is that if the administration's goal is to try to stave this off from happening in the United States, it's already happening. I mean, Tammy Bruce and I go deep about this. Like on the Faulkner Focus, we get all in it because the Great Resignation of 38.6 million people by October of last year was a huge thumb in the face of those mandates, partly. We don't know how high the percentage got of those people just simply saying, we don't want to be told what to do, we're going to stay home and spend that money that the government is giving us for the period of time that it lasts. But that was part of it. We know that from people because they say now, look, it's not that we don't want to get a vaccine, we just don't want to be mandated. Well, doesn't that sound like an echo of what some of those truckers are saying? With 90% of them vaccinated in the union. We got that from our reporter last hour, Alexis McAdams, who's on the ground in Ottawa. So, you've got that part of it, but you also have this sense of the school board parents, the school board versus parents, and how the DOJ decided to sic the FBI on those dissenting parents because their pushback on mandates over masking in classrooms and other restrictions were also something that they wanted to tamp down. Look, it hasn't been working in this country already. So if the White House thinks that they can call Justin Trudeau and say, hey, you better get a handle on that before it spreads here, or whatever that phone call was like, that's a ridiculous notion. We're already getting practiced at it here. And you know what we do in America. We do it bigger and better.
That's right. Molly, you had a strong reaction to the CBC there in Canada, writing an article and a tweet about the use of the word freedom.
Yes, the CBC said that freedom is a word used by right-wingers, and they tried to explain the whole thing. It sounded positively Orwellian. What? And it is exactly what's happening. Yeah, the word has become common among far-right groups, experts say. So you know what they think of everybody who believes in freedom, that, they just like to disparage them as far-right people. But what I think is fascinating is that the establishment in so many different countries claims that they care so much about democracy and that we're in this really important moment for democracy. And yet any time that there is a democratic uprising that threatens their power, they absolutely crush it, as they're doing there. And I thought Biden asking it to be crushed indicates that he's worried about similar things happening in the U.S.